Hi, I'm Leslie Minix-Wolf from ScienceLogic, Director of Product Marketing. And I'm here today to start off on a series of videos that focus on our automation engine for AIOps. Today we're going to talk specifically about the foundational data lake that drives automated actions based on AI. And joining me today is John Wilsey, who is a Senior Solutions Architect at ScienceLogic. John, welcome.
Thank you, Leslie.
So one of the foundations of ScienceLogic is our ability to collect data from essentially any technology, any vendor, and anywhere, whether it's in the data center or in the cloud. And we use a variety of techniques for collecting that data. So John, can you tell us a little bit about some of those techniques?
Yeah, ScienceLogic SL1 is very flexible. We're able to get technology from just about any sort of device or system that is connected to the network, whether it be an API, a cloud service, it might be a device using kind of classic methods like SNMP or PowerShell, but we can also take in log data, custom connections to systems with SSH. There's a number of different methods that we use to collect the technology that we feed our data lake with.
Okay, and that allows us to see essentially anything that's running in your IT environment, both on-prem or in the cloud. Well, when we take that data, we actually store it in a data lake. And that data lake is the basis for driving all kinds of actions and activities. It's also where we start to add context to that data. And there's 4 types of context that we add. We add context around the infrastructure. We add context around how the application components work together, how the infrastructure works with those application components, and also business services. So John, can you talk a little bit about how we do that?
Yeah, so we build the data lake and the context using a number of different methods. The first method is our patented discovery of devices and technologies. One of the first we did was VMware, where we were able to discover the entire VMware hierarchy, and we're able to see what exists in that hierarchy. We did that a number of years ago. So for instance, when vMotion events happen, we could detect that in real time. We then went ahead and extended that to cross-technology. So for instance, when FlexPod came out, we were able to not only understand the VMware stack, but also, for instance, the UCS stack and the NetApp storage stack. And not only do we understand each of the hierarchies within those 3 technologies, but we were able to build cross relationships. And that's part of our patented relationship mapping that we have. So we can understand, for instance, that a volume from NetApp is tied to a data store in VMware. And that VM in VMware might be tied to a policy in UCS. So that cross technology is something we added into the product quite a while ago. Since then, we've added new things, such as the capability to map applications. We're able to see the different server instances that are out there, what processes are running on those servers, and build relationships between servers. So for instance, we know that a web server is retrieving data from a database when somebody refreshes a web page, and that data goes through a load balancer. And we're able to go ahead and connect the dot from a load balancer to a web server to a database, as an example. Another example is third-party synchronizations. One of the most popular that we do is a Cmdb synchronization. So say something from ServiceNow. We might feed data into ServiceNow, but as well we might enrich our data lake by pulling contract information, warranty information, asset information, and we align that to the devices or CIs based on how you refer to things. We align those together. So we're able to not only take information we're directly discovering, but we can also take data from third-party sources and enrich that data in the data lake.
What about third-party APM tools? We have the ability to bring in relational data from them as well?
Yeah, good point. So in addition to our own application mapping, we can tie into popular APM tools like App Dynamics, New Relic, Dynatrace, those sorts of things. Look at what they have discovered and bring that data and the relationships in as well.
Right, so we're fusing all this data together, both the contextual data in terms of relationships, but also context like asset information and things that are outside the normal scope of your monitored environment.
Exactly.
I think the last area that we focus on is on the service impact as well. So, you know, can you talk a little bit more about what we do with ServiceNow?
Sure. All that data that we just talked about, all those different sources, all those different relationships, we can actually use those to drive services. So we might define a business service. It can be something like a application, maybe an e-commerce credit card application, or we might look at it as a line of business. How well is the finance department resources? How are they running?
Right.
So we can actually map the infrastructure and applications to business services.
Okay, great. And all this context is what allows the data lake to become more actionable, so that you can then start to automate things. And here's where we can actually start to apply some AI capabilities on this contextual data, because you know it's difficult to apply analytics when you don't have good learning or training data to drive those analytics or to drive those automations. So, you know, can you talk a little bit about some of the types of automations that we might use or this data to power?
Yeah, so automation-wise, there's several different types of automations we do. One of the most popular that we do is an incident sync, where there is a third-party Cmdb involved. Again, ServiceNow is one of the most popular ones that we do integrations with. And when we detect certain conditions happen, we'll go ahead and create an incident. So that's one sort of automation we'll do. We might also take additional performance information. Since we're doing the performance management, we can enrich that incident with additional information, additional context based on what we're seeing happen live in the environment. Another type of automation might be a remediation. So when there's learned behavior, if this happens, we know this is going to happen next, so let's go ahead and automate something to take care of that or prevent it next time that happens. One of our large customers, Cisco, does quite a bit of that automation work.
Right. So another good example is a lot of our system integrator partners are using third-party AI ML solutions and are taking the data out of our data lake to help drive additional analytics for many enterprise customers. You know, one of the other areas that we've seen this work especially well is for detecting anomalies, especially in areas like security breaches and things like that. You know, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, we're also seeing partners and customers leverage the data lake to move the data from the SL1 data lake into their own systems. They're doing a variety of things. They're doing billing sorts of analysis, financial analysis, capacity plan analysis, and some of the GSIs who've actually acquired AI ML engines are actually feeding that data into those. We've also done experimenting where we're taking data from the external systems and then updating policies within our data lake as well.
Right, right. So it's a very cyclical process where we are feeding data into third-party systems, that contextual data that then can feed back into ScienceLogic, and it continues as a cycle. Thank you, John. I appreciate your time today. And for those of you interested in learning more, check us out at www.sciencelogic.com. Thank you.